I'm in love with my girls. I'm in love with them, and they're my best friends, especially as they get older. And I know that when I'm in the nursing home, they'll be the ones to come and pluck my chin hairs. But he has been from heaven. Okay, it's so wonderful. All right, well, he got married in September, and when he started bringing his wife around us, he would say to me, "You have a terrible look on your forehead." And I would say, "What? I don't know what you're talking about." But he said, "Mom, she's my best friend, and I want to marry her." They met in college at Berry College. And he said, "She's going to be my wife." And so I tried to, it wasn't anything against her. It was anybody that was going to come in and take my boy, because he's the best thing that's ever, all right, he's like the best of their daddy. He's like everything their daddy can't be. Does that make sense? So right before the wedding, he said, "Mom, she is my immediate family now. You're my extended. I'm supposed to cleave to my wife. That's biblical." And I said, "Why did I show him the Bible?" But they had a beautiful wedding, and really, when I got in there and the Holy Spirit was there, and God was in it, and I knew they were supposed to be together, and I love her. I mean, I love her. She's like another daughter to me now. And but I was freaked out, but everything is okay now. And then I got to thinking, how psycho am I that I want to keep him forever and have him live in the basement and be a weirdo. You know, that's twisted. So I was able to let him go. And I love her. She's like another child to me.
Decision not to quit.
And I tell you, my manager at the time said, "Leanne, there's this company in Salt Lake City, Dry Bar. Nobody's ever heard of it. It's a clean comedy platform. Nobody's ever heard of it." I remember him saying these words to me, "Nobody will ever see it. But they want you to do a special. They'll pay you a couple of $1,000s. They'll give you a hotel room. You're going to be in Dubuque, Iowa, doing the Chamber of Commerce luncheon." That's how bad my career was going. I was doing the Chamber of Commerce luncheon in Dubuque, which, let me say, there's some of the prettiest people in Dubuque, Iowa. I don't know who those people are. They're beautiful. But they didn't even hire me to do the nighttime thing. I was the luncheon. You know, I barely got enough money to get out there on a tiny plane with propellers at like where I thought I was going to go down. But, and he said, "Why don't you just scoot on out to Salt Lake City and do that, and we'll get clips. If anything, we'll get clips for you to get more Dubuque of Iowa luncheons." I'm not kidding. That's what he said to me. He had hit a wall. He didn't know what to do. And I was like, okay. And I went out there and did that Dry Bar thinking, this is nothing. But that I don't know, it's gotten like 50 million views. And that really didn't translate into ticket sales. Like, I still couldn't get booked in clubs. They would book me in a club, but they would say, "We love her. She doesn't get drunk and fight in the parking lot, but she can't sell tickets." You know, that's what they'd say. "We love her. She's sweet. Love her. Can't sell tickets." And then, so the Dry Bar thing, I was getting all these views and fans and stuff, but it wasn't translating into ticket sales and all that.
Yeah.
And then I said to my manager at the time, when I say that because I'm no longer with him, because I said to him, all the people that I admire, all the people that I love to watch and that I'm a fan of have got social media people. And that's the new thing. And I think I should hire these people to do my social media. And he was like, "You can't afford that and you don't need to do that." And I went against him. And it was a lot of money, but I invested in myself. And you know, Helen, I've done comedy for 22 years, but I was a mama first. And every dime I made, I bought uniforms with it. I got everybody's hair cut. I never invested in a website for myself. I had like 2 headshots in 20-something years because it was just, I don't know, that wasn't good business on my part, but I just put everything into my children. That was what I did. And then at this point, in 2019, I thought, I'm going to hire these and I'm going to give it 3 months. I'm going to give these young boys 3 months. And if it doesn't happen after that, I'll bow out of comedy. I knew I was going to have a grandbaby. Charlie got married right out of college. I knew they were going to have a bunch of babies. And I'm from the country. I wanted to be a meemaw. And I thought, I'll go to work at Target. I'm not kidding. I thought, I'll go to work at Target and I'll put bedding up in the back on those things. That looks fun. I really did. I thought, I'll just bow out of this.
You were about to tap out.
Yeah, I thought, I'm going to give it this. And then, because I had worked, my manager got me in some clubs. I couldn't sell tickets. I could tell they were like, oh, she's one of those dry bar comics. Like I was really not a legit comic. And you know, over the years, like Comedy Central wouldn't have anything to do with me. You know, I would get no's from all of them. And so I thought maybe I'm not legit. I mean, maybe this is it. This is the end of the road. And they put out one video about me taking Chuck Morgan to go see Def Leppard and Journey at Thompson Bowling Arena. And I talked about how, and I had filmed that. I had never done that bit before. I did it one time in Chattanooga. Somebody got it on film. Those boys put it out. And I've talked about old people at concerts and how everybody had plantar fasciitis and was worried about the snack bar. And everybody there is our age. And every once in a while, somebody would stand up and then they'd sit back down. And it went viral. And it was like a fire. Somebody lit a fire, and I could feel it. I could feel it in a wave go through my body. I knew what was happening. I was in New York City. We were moving my baby into school she went to school for makeup for television and film. We were in a tiny hotel room, and I said, I think something is happening. And Chuck said, the Uber's here. Get the luggage and let's get out. You know, everybody was worried about moving her in her apartment. And but in my heart, I thought, oh my gosh, something is happening. And I could feel it, physically feel it. Does that make sense? I physically felt something. I thought, oh my gosh, I knew it. I saw thousands of people sharing. Well, people saw that and started looking at everything else that I had online that liked that. And then my manager called and said, they want to book you back in Orlando. They want to book you in Tampa. They want you to come to Chicago. And I started selling out all over the United States. It happened I'm not kidding, in 2 to 3 weeks, my life changed. Is that not the craziest thing? It's so much more special and wonderful than anything I ever thought it was going to be.
The reason I'm sitting here and just absorbing what you're saying, and hopefully not stepping on what you're saying, is because I saw it happen. And I'm so proud of you for not quitting.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
For not giving up, for believing in the possibility. So it starts to happen. 100-city tour?
Yes. So I was selling out all over the United States in comedy clubs. One-nighters, and then and people were lined up, and these comedy club people were like, where have you been? Your audience is the best audience we've ever seen. They're not rowdy. We don't have to calm anybody down. They're not fighting. It would be, and this is what was special, it would be a grandmama, like an 80-year-old woman who's never been to a comedy club. Her daughter, 50, and then her daughter, like 25. And they said, we've never seen this before. And I would see these little elderly people sitting in the front row with a little brooch on, coming to a comedy club. and I'd think, I can't even believe this. And I really messed with my head, and I thought, I need to go home with every one of them and clean their house and make them a casserole. I really did, and put in a load of wash, because they're coming out and doing this for me, because it had been years, where I could not, comedy clubs, I worked comedy clubs like 5 or 6 a year would book me, but most of them were like, I didn't come up in them, so they didn't want me. So anyway, that was all crazy, and then my agent called me. Somebody begged, my manager begged somebody to take me as an agent. I was selling out all over the United States, and they still didn't want me. And I don't know if it's because I was a 50-something-year-old woman from Tennessee. I don't know what it was, but they had to beg a guy, like a favor, can you take her as her agent? And so he took me, sweet young guy, and they call me and they go, Outback Concerts out of Nashville, Tennessee, which I've known Mike Smartack and Brian Dorfman for 20 years. I've always wanted to be in business with them. They did the Blue Collar Tour, and they do all the comedians that you've ever loved. Called me and they said, we want to give you a 50-city tour. Put it on sale, sold out. They said, we're going to give you another 50. So that was the 100-city tour, and I named it the Big Panty Tour. No, you know what I've been thinking about? I thought about, Lord, Christmas is coming. And now I'm a grandmama, and I'm out making a little money. But when I was a stay-at-home mom, when we first got started out and had little children, I remember thinking, oh my Lord, that Little Tykes kitchen's gonna sell out. And my husband doesn't like to let go of money till right at the end of Christmas. And I'm like, I gotta get there. Okay, I'll do something nasty. Okay, I'll do something nasty in that big Dodge Ram in that mobile home parking lot. Yeah, and then I'll be able to get that Elmo. Yeah. Y'all won't believe the things I've done so my children could have a good Christmas. But they always did. Oh, you little mamas, God love you. And then you gotta clean everything and cook and then wrap. I had a good friend that she said to her husband, if you'll wrap 3 Christmas presents, I'll have sex
a good
with
Easter.
You. She did. I remember that years ago.
All right,
and I remember
let me
thinking,
tell y'all, I had everybody at my house, and I was
okay,
exhausted,
I could do
and I
that.
thought,
Maybe I could do
I'm
that.
the person now because everybody else has gotten too old.
My husband is a big old man, 6'4". Very Superman-like, broad shoulders, narrow hips. He weighs about 230, 250 if we're all on gluten. I am 5'8", I'm a big girl, and we breed big kids. So we had all these beautiful tall children, and my girls ended up playing volleyball and travel volleyball all over the United States, but they grew to be 5'8" and 5'9". We thought they were going to be taller. They wanted to be 6 feet so badly, and I finally said, do you really want to go into the transgender store and get your shoes? But anyway, so my baby child grew really quick, really fast, and I think it's all that chicken I fed her. Now we don't eat any hormones and anything, but back then we didn't know. So anyway, she grew really quick, really fast, and in elementary she was about 5'5", 5'6", and so she was taller than all the little children, and the principal, and all the teachers. And she hated it, was so self-conscious. But the good news is very athletic, very strong. And so all these teams around East Tennessee would call me and ask me, can she play goalkeeper for me in soccer? I'll buy her an iPhone. I'm not kidding. Can she play basketball for me? Because you just didn't see girls that tall and that strong and at that age. And I felt like LeBron James' mama. Is that him? LeBron James, little mama. And I lived through her. And I made her do all of that. And she hated it. She hated it. And so one day she came to us and she goes, I'm sick of all this and I'm not doing it anymore. She said, I want a chair. I said, well, baby, we're big people. And I said, we don't tumble, but I'll try to figure this out. So I found out in the United States there's called competition chair. And we have it here in Knoxville. It's called the Sharks. Okay, y'all. My middle one that lives here in Chattanooga has always had a lot of suitors coming around and wanting to date her. And she had this one, and he was I wouldn't say an Eddie Haskell, but he was a schmoozer. Like he knew he was a player, okay? Their daddy's not a player, okay? My husband, he doesn't chat. Like he vacuumed out my car when he was dating me, and he bought my cigarettes, so that's how we started. But anyway, it was the 80s. But anyway, the young people call it playa, some fast-talking boy. She had this fast-talking boy coming around, and he would say to me things like, Miss Morgan, you look beautiful today. And I was like, can I make you a casserole? Thank goodness they broke up, because I was exhausted. I was mopping the floor and blowing my hair out every day. And I don't do that. Let me tell you why I got played. I thought, why am I so tickled when somebody compliments me? It's because my love language is words of affirmation. Have y'all ever heard of that book, 5 Love Languages? It is wonderful, and it works. It's the real deal. My husband and I went on a Sunday school class retreat when our children were little, and we watched this little frail man talk about it, okay, and it was on Oprah, so it's real. But anyway, what it is there's 5 love languages, and you get the book, you read the book. Well, I don't read the book. But anyway, you take the test, and it tells you what your prominent love language is out of those 5, and it tells you what your partner's love language is. So then you can go home at night and feed your partner their love language, and they can feed you your love language, and then your love tank feels full. And if you don't do it, then your partner's liable to go to work, and they're at the water fountain, and some whore comes in. And feeds their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Y'all know where I'm going with that? It's a disaster. So, there's 5 love languages. There's quality time. You just can sit and watch ESPN with somebody, which I don't want to. But you just sit with somebody. Okay, then there's gifts. And you can just give them a card and they feel loved. It doesn't have to be something expensive. Okay, then there's physical touch. And most women in here will go, oh my gosh, that's my husband's. Physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug. But it's not that kind of nasty. I'm talking about, there's people that just want to hug you and kiss you and squeeze you and they got to hold your hand. That's the physical touch they're talking about. Okay, then there's words of affirmation. That's mine. So all my husband has to say is, Leanne, you are a good mama. Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then my love tank feels full, and then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. So you see how it all works out. So his love language, the fifth one, is acts of service. So I have to go and build a set of shelves in the garage for him to feel love. That doesn't make sense to me, but anyway, y'all need to get that book. My middle one that lives here in Chattanooga has always had a lot of suitors coming around and wanting to date her, and she had this one, and he was I wouldn't say an Eddie Haskell, but he was a schmoozer. Like he knew he was a player, okay? Their daddy's not a player, okay? My husband, he doesn't chat. Like he vacuumed out my car when he was dating me, and he bought my cigarettes, so that's how we started. But anyway, it was the 80s. But anyway, the young people call it player, some fast-talking boy. She had this fast-talking boy coming around, and he would say to me things like, "Miss Morgan, you look beautiful today." And I was like, "Can I make you a casserole?" Thank goodness they broke up, because I was exhausted. I was mopping the floor and blowing my hair out every day. And I don't do that. Let me tell you why I got played. I thought, why am I so tickled when somebody compliments me? It's because my love language is words of affirmation. Have y'all ever heard of that book, 5 Love Languages? It is wonderful, and it works. It's the real deal. My husband and I went on a Sunday school class retreat when our children were little, and we watched this little frail man talk about it, okay, and it was on Oprah, so it's real. But anyway, what it is there's 5 love languages, and you get the book, you read the book. Well, I don't read the book. But anyway, you take the test, and it tells you what your prominent love language is out of those 5, and it tells you what your partner's love language is. So then you can go home at night and feed your partner their love language, and they can feed you your love language, and then your love tank feels full. And if you don't do it, then your partner's liable to go to work, and they're at the water fountain, and some whore comes in. And feeds their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Y'all know where I'm going with that? It's a disaster. So, there's 5 love languages. There's quality time. And that's my sister's. Quality time, but you just can sit and watch ESPN with somebody, which I don't want to, but you just sit with somebody. Okay. Then there's gifts, and you can just give them a card and they feel loved. It doesn't have to be something expensive. Okay, then there's physical touch, and most women in here will go, "Oh my gosh, that's my husband's physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug." But it's not that kind of nasty. I'm talking about, like there's people that just want to hug you and kiss you and squeeze you and they got to hold your hand. That's the physical touch they're talking about. Okay, then there's words of affirmation. That's mine. So all my husband has to say is, "Leanne, you are a good mama. Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for." And then my love tank feels full, and then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. So you see how it all works out. So his love language, the 5th one, is acts of service. So I have to go and build a set of shelves in the garage for him to feel love. My husband, there's 2 things on this earth that make him happy: a clean house and sex. Oh, lucky me. like a clean house too. But I'm too fun to clean. I want somebody else to do it, you know? So to make my husband happy, I got to where I would just pour bleach in certain parts of the house. And so when he came home, he'd smell it and think that I had been cleaning. It worked for a little while, and then he caught on to me. And he said, if you'll have sex with me twice a week, I'll get you a maid. No. And then, he said, well, if you don't start taking care of my needs, I guess I'm going to have to get a girlfriend. I said, oh, dear Lord, say it's not so. I said, well, make sure that she's stout and that she can mow, because I need some help. I'm tickled to death to be here in Austin. It's one of my favorite places. Kumbaya. Kumbaya. Got all my young, hip people over here. Feel good. Not dragged down by a bunch of kids. Look, woo! She feels good. Date night, fun. Oh, y'all. Some of y'all are looking at me like, we've been stuck in the house all week in that ice. And now we bought tickets to hicham. Yep, you did. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, but I feel very connected to Texas people because I lived in San Antonio for 3 years, and about 3 years ago, and Davy Crockett. I have to mention that every time because of Davy Crockett, the Tennessee Volunteers, all those boys, we saved y'all. He came to me in, he was in middle school or high school, and he's very spiritually mature, has always been. I didn't do it. Their daddy didn't do it. God did it. But we call him our little Billy Graham. But anywho, so he was dating a little girl, and he came home, and I said, what y'all been doing? And he said, we've been watching a movie, and we were kissing. I said, oh. That's normal. That's okay. But I said, baby, before you know it, one thing can get out of hand. You've got your arm around somebody, and then you've got your hand on her leg. Things can get out of control. He looked at me like I was crazy. And he said to me, Mom, I've prayed about this. Nothing like that's going to happen. And I know he meant that. And all I could think of to myself was some of the nastiest things I ever did. Was at the Adams United Methodist Youth Fellowship. On a hayride. I don't know what it was about hay that set me on fire. I wish it did now. I could get a new purse out of that. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Youth groups. And we've all, here in the South, we've all been raised in church, Did y'all ever go to a lock-in? What little fool came up with that? Y'all know that it was some precious little woman maybe, and they were like, they were in a committee meeting, and she was like, oh gosh, y'all, we need to come up for something for all the hormonal teenagers. I know. We'll put them in the church building and lock the door and turn the lights out.
and leave them there all night. Maybe somebody will end up pregnant.
I'll tell y'all a little bit about myself. My husband and I met in college while he was stalking me. I think y'all know what I'm talking about, don't you? He was so tickled with me. He was on fire for me. That he bought me presents for no reason, no special occasion. You boys know what he was after, don't you? I think you young boys call it milkshake. He wanted up in my yard to get my milkshake. He got it, okay? I married him, had 3 children by him. Things change when you've been married 100 years, doesn't it, girl? Now I have to give birth to get a pair of earrings. Vaginal trauma, fine jewelry. Okay, it's a deal. My husband and I were at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and I was getting my undergraduate degree, and he was getting his MBA, and I thought, oh my gosh, he is so smart. He can reconcile a checkbook. We're going to have a good life. No telling where we're going to go and what we're going to do and the glamour. Well, we graduated, and he decided to buy a used mobile home business in Bean Station, Tennessee. Is this thing on? I said a used mobile home business. Do y'all know where Bean Station, Tennessee is? Oh, it's at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Have you ever seen Deliverance? Maybe you young people sing Sling Blade. Because I know y'all haven't watched Deliverance. Well, he moved me up there. And I think I've got cedar fever. You think that ice would have killed it. But anyway, what was I saying? He moved me up there, and he wanted me to be in sales for him in the mobile home business. So I did that day. Until I saw a family drive up in a Gremlin with the window down and a 9-year-old smoking a cigarette. She lit it off of her Milo. So I quit that day. And I went home and I got pregnant that night.
In Knoxville, our children's hospital had asked me for years to be in there Dancing with the Stars. I want to be able to tell y'all it was ABC, but it wasn't. It was in Knoxville, and it was local celebrities. So it's like the weatherman. And Phil Fulmer if he didn't have a knee replacement. And, you know, people like that. So they had asked me, there's not many celebrities, so they had asked me, and I said, well, I've been eating white flour, and I'm in a bad place, and I don't know. Because they make you wear a bikini with fringe sewn on it, like ABC. You wear outfits like that, so you're practically nude in front of everybody you've ever known. So I said, this is for little children. This is the least I can do. So they put me with a big old boy that was my partner. He was a doll, and it was very stressful. You had to learn a dance in 6 weeks. You had to learn a dance. You practiced at night, and then you begged for money during the day. It was a lot. And we were going to learn the cha-cha, to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I was going to kill it. Well, one night, he kind of flung me hard, and I thought, oh, something popped. And something
something doesn't feel right. The next morning I woke up and there was this big bulging thing about right here. And I called my girlfriend in Greenville, Tennessee, and I said, I think I've got backed up poop. And she said, because I have trouble with that. But she said, I don't think poop goes up that far. And so she looked on her iPad on WebMD, and she sent me this picture of this man looked like an alien coming out of him. She said, is that it? And I go, that's it. She goes, you've got a hernia. So I went to my doctor, and they said, we can't push this thing back in. And so the thing was in 5 days with the Children's Hospital, and I didn't want to let them down. And I thought, Lord, what are we going to do? And my girls stepped in and learned a dance in 4 days. Bless their hearts, and they're practically nude. And they had to wear all that too. And I came out in a wheelchair to Proud Mary Keep On Turning. Thank you. And it all turned out good. The girls did that dance. You've seen that video from a long time, from the 60s with Tina Turner, and they were doing that dance. You know, it looked like car wash, something going through. Y'all seen that? And you know that Ike probably whipped her in a cocaine rage before she hit that video. So I thought, if she can do it, I can do it. But you know, let me tell you, it ended up a wonderful thing. We raised a lot of money, and it was a blessing. And this blessing came out of it. Let me tell you, my husband found out about the cuddling program, and he is a baby cuddler. He cuddles drug-dependent babies every Wednesday night in Children's Hospital. Thank you. Thank you. That is so sweet. He didn't help me with mine, but that is so sweet. For you little mamas out there, you young mamas that are going through, you know, got a bunch of little children vomiting in the carpet, peeing in the closet. When you're trying to pee and they like slide ham under the door and say, can you open this, Mom? I know what y'all want for Mother's Day. Y'all want an Ambien and a hotel room. I hope y'all get it. I hope y'all get it. When you get to be my age, and I'm 51 years old, honey, you beg your little children to come home and be up your butthole. I beg them and try to hold money over their head. All right, but they're all home. I'm so thankful, so grateful. Okay, y'all, we got a big night ahead of us. Y'all are precious. I want to talk to y'all about, because I am 51 and going through hormonal changes. Okay, I am with their daddy, and these children all walked off and left me with him. And he's so not fun. And he can't help it. He's that way because he has to make a living for all of us. And he's got a lot on us, and all the money's going out the window. And, you know, because we got 2 in college, we just had 1 get married. But he and I are having to adjust being together for the first time in how many years, you know, before we got married. And so he sends me emoji, kissy faces, and stuff like that. But I am low on progesterone and testosterone. He's low on testosterone, praise God.
If I had to get out here and get a man at 57, after I've eaten all this Jell-O, it would take $1,000 just to groom what all I've got going on. But my husband and I met, and I was so cute, and I was little. I had on little breeches, and my thyroid was functioning. He was so enthralled with me and so in love with me and pursued me and bought me presents, and now I truly believe he would not pull me out of a burning vehicle. And the first thing I thought was, I'm in an Uber with a man who would cover up a murder. Second thing I thought was, I'd help my baby cover up a murder. We were at McDonald's, and my other two were playing in the balls in the tube. Mine loved the balls. Mine would be playing in the balls, having a big time, and then a dirty diaper go floating across. They'd find a chicken nugget that wasn't theirs and go, turn it on. Where do people go on dates in their 50s and 60s? Lord, I had not dated since the 80s. Do y'all remember Dexatrim? Yeah, it was speed. We took speed as a family.
The reason why I'm so in love with him, he's an old soul. Have y'all ever known anybody that was just born an old soul? He was born an 80-year-old man. All right, let me tell y'all why I say that. He has had a garden since he was in middle school. He has just always loved to learn and had all these nifty things that he's been into. Like he raised chickens. He was in Berry College. They have enterprises, business enterprises, and he started the Cage-Free Egg Enterprise. He raised 200 chickens while he was in college. Do y'all want to know what I was doing at the University of Tennessee in the 80s? I mean, let's just get it out of the way. Have I made out with anybody in here? Anybody? I was in terrible sin. And I was down at Gabby's on the Strip. I don't know if any of y'all remember that Sodom and Gomorrah. I was dancing to Prince, but anywho. So anyway, all right, so he had his own garden. He now cans his own food. He can can food. Are y'all listening to me? He loved gospel bluegrass in high school. Honey, that's his favorite music that he loved. So I brought him to Dr. Ralph Stanley. I don't know if y'all remember Dr. Ralph. He just passed away, 90-something years old, godfather of Mountain. So I brought my son to the Bijou to see him. They propped little Dr. Ralph up on stage. Looked like he had a permanent. Almost threw my panties at him because that's what you do at Tom Jones. Anywho, so we're sitting out in the audience while Dr. Ralph's up here singing, and I thought, how many teenage boys are listening to this? Gospel bluegrass. What are they listening to, real teenage? You know, all right, Waka Flocka Flame. Rihanna, Lady Gaga, all that nasty goings on. I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I had to yell at my boy, turn that gospel bluegrass down? You're out of control. If I hear, I saw the light one more time. My husband and I both play sports, and we love sports. And I know y'all are thinking, you sissy thing, you didn't play sports, but I did. I should have cared more. I was worried about my hair, but Anyway, we loved it, and we pushed our 4-year-old, our oldest, when he was 4, we made him do T-ball. And I was thinking about it because it's T-ball season right now. And T-ball, if you don't know anything about T-ball season, it's about 110 degrees outside. The games last about 3 hours. It's little children with, looks like they got a pull-up on under their baseball pants. Nobody ever hits the ball, throws the ball, makes contact with the ball. My boy hated it and laid in a fetal position on his glove the entire season. And every once in a while, he'd pop his little head up and say, "Water." And my middle child was about 2.5 at the time, and I said, "Please take your brother bottled water out there to the field." And she was 2.5. She had her crown and her wand and her tutu and her pink prostitute shoes from Walmart on. And she went running out to the field and stopped and got a glazed look over her eyes, pulled her panties to the side, and pooped in the T-ball field. I had to run out there and get a stick and flick it into the woods because I didn't want another child to step in it or think it was a milk dud. But he refused to play sports until he was probably about in middle school. He was so traumatized by all of that. My baby child is 20 and lives in Knoxville. Okay, years ago, we wanted all these children to play sports, to keep them off of dope. And so they played all this stuff, all of them did. And my husband's 6'4", I'm 5'8". We breed big kids. So she, in elementary school, was like 5'5", 5'6". She was taller than all the little children and the principal and the teachers, and she hated it. But the good news is she's very athletic, very strong. So all over East Tennessee, people would call me and say, "Can she be the goalkeeper for our soccer team? I'll get her an iPhone." Yeah. "Can she play basketball for us? She never played basketball." And y'all, I lived through her. And I made her do it. And I felt like LeBron James's mama. And so she came to me and she goes, "I'm sick of this. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to play all this mess." She goes, "I've decided that I want to cheer." And I said, "Well, baby, we're big people. And I said, we don't tumble, but I'll figure something out." Well, all over the United States, they've got this thing called competition cheer. And it's kind of like, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like Honey Boo Boo meets the Olympics, really. It's gymnast. They're gymnasts. And there's one in Knoxville called the Sharks. And they said, "Drop your baby off and she can try out to audition," whatever you want to call it. So I dropped her off, and they ended up putting her on a bad mamma jamma team because all the little children her age came up to hear on her. And somebody's got to throw them up in the air. So they were thrilled with her, and they treated us like royalty. But anyway, they said, "You're going to come in here twice a week, learn a 2-minute routine. It's going to cost you $150 a month." It's like, okay. They said, "There's a uniform that you're going to order, and it comes to here. It's going to expose her stomach. She's going to have a tiny skirt on with a slit in it with a glitter panty underneath it. It's $300. I said, "That's a whore outfit." And it came with its own bag of whore makeup. So that all the little children could look alike. And they said, y'all are going to travel to faraway lands and compete against other little whore children. So we went to like Cincinnati or Atlanta, and we had to get hotel rooms and the gas and all of that. And then you drive up to a big coliseum, a huge coliseum, and there's tens of thousands of little whore children walking around. And my husband said, there could be pedophiles here. This is the awfulest thing I've ever, something's not right. Okay, so then they said, you're going to pay $150 for your baby to be in this competition. You're going to have to pay $30 to put a band on to get in and watch your baby in this competition. Somebody was selling corn dogs for $15. Okay. They start out with the babies, so it goes from 5 to 18 ages. So the babies come out in a tiny little skirt about the size of a napkin. And they come out to Beyonce's All the Single Ladies. And their little mamas are in their 20s. And they're not bitter yet. And they're in the front doing every move to keep their baby on track because they're babies and they need to be at home breastfeeding. So they move up throughout the day into my baby's age, and they're the reef sharks. They call out that name, honey, for 2.5 minutes. My baby throws little children up in the air, flinging little children, broken out in a sweat, working like a Trojan. Did you see my Spanx? Okay. All right, she is a beauty. And I know every crow thinks theirs is the blackest, but she's always had a bunch of boys coming around wanting to date her. So there was one that came around, and he was a player. Do y'all remember that, playa? Remember? So the young people call it playa. My husband's not a player. He doesn't chat at all. So he never sweet talked me or, he's not that way. Solid though, solid. I've got good health insurance. But like, he has never, charmed, not that kind of man. Okay. Well, she had this one coming around. He was a charmer. He was a player. And so he would say to me things like, Miss Morgan, you look beautiful. And I'd be like, can I make you a casserole? And eventually they broke up, praise God, because I was exhausted. I was blowing my hair out every day and mopping the kitchen floor. But the reason I got played, let me tell y'all, the reason I got played is because my love language is words of affirmation. Okay, if you have not taken that test, go get you a book called The 5 Love Languages. My husband and I did it at the Methodist Church. When we were just married, we went on a retreat and we did this. And they have one for your children and they have one for your spouse. So you read it, you take the test, and everybody has a prominent love language. There's 5 of them. And so you find out what your spouse's love language is. And they find out what your love language is, and you feed each other their love language. And then when you do, their love tank feels full. And if they feed you yours, your love tank feels full. If you don't feed them their love language, they go to work. And they're at the water fountain. And some whore comes up. And feeds them their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Everybody, I think you know where I'm going with that. Okay. So there's 5 love languages. The first one is quality time. You know people that just want you to spend quality time with them, just them. Okay. Then there's physical touch. I know you girls think, that's my husband. Physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug. But I'm not talking about that kind of physical touch, the nasty kind. I'm talking about, you know, people that just want to squeeze and they're physical and they want to hold your hand, they want to hug on you, that kind of physical touch. Okay, then there's gifts. And that's my sister. She loves, if you've thought about her, it doesn't have to be expensive. If it's a rose, if it's a card, hers is gifts. She feels love and her love tank is full. Mine is words of affirmation. So all my husband has to say is, Leanne, you look beautiful today. Or Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. My love language is words of affirmation. Have y'all ever heard of that book, 5 Love Languages? It is wonderful, and it works. It's the real deal. My husband and I went on a Sunday school class retreat when our children were little, and we watched this little frail man talk about it. Okay, and it was on Oprah, so you know it's real. But anyway, what it is there's 5 love languages, and you get the book, you read the book. Well, you don't really, I don't read the book. But anyway, you take the test, and it tells you what your prominent love language is out of those 5, and it tells you what your partner's love language is. So then you can go home at night and feed your partner their love language, and they can feed you your love language, and then your love tank feels full. And if you don't do it, then your partner's liable to go to work, and they're at the water fountain, and some whore comes in. And feeds their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Y'all know where I'm going with that? It's a disaster. So, there's 5 love languages. There's quality time. And that's my sister's. Quality time, but you just can sit and watch ESPN with somebody, you know, which I don't want to, but I mean, you just sit with somebody. Okay, then there's gifts, and you can just give them a card and they feel loved. It doesn't have to be something expensive. Okay, then there's physical touch, and most women in here will go, oh my gosh, that's my husband's. Physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug. But it's not that kind of nasty. I'm talking about, you know, like there's people that just want to hug you and kiss you and squeeze you and they got to hold your hand. That's the physical touch they're talking about. Okay, then there's words of affirmation. That's mine. So all my husband has to say is, Leanne, you are a good mama. Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then my love tank feels full, and then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. So you see how it all works out. So his love language, the 5th one, is acts of service. So I have to go and build a set of shelves in the garage for him to feel love. Let me tell you about this baby. We are becoming the best of friends, really, because she's now 21 years old, and she has always been a beauty and so smart and fun and hateful. Okay, so now she not to other people. She holds it in when she's in public so that she can come home and let it out on me And that's okay, I'm her safe person. And I believe that God allows this when your children get in about, I don't know, junior, senior in high school, because He knows that you're grieving, because they're going to leave. And He knows that you're going to take to the bed over it. So, their junior and senior year, something happens. And they change on you. And they get to be the meanest people you've ever been around. So by the time they're ready to leave, you kick their crap out onto the curb. Her junior year, this started, okay, the very breath that I breathed out of my nostrils made her so angry. We were not allowed to eat cereal in our own home. Because she couldn't stand to hear us chew. And I don't mean to talk about her because she had a lot on her. She had a lot on her, like she had to empty the dishwasher. And that's a lot, you know. I'll give you all an example. Okay, at the University of Tennessee in her sorority, these girls will come home, you know, and I'll cook for them and do, and I'm tickled. All right, well, they, like Memphis, Nashville girls, well, a little girl came home with her and spent 2 nights. So I washed that little thing's clothes, and all I said to this little girl was, Katie, you're so tiny. Your little underwear looks like a slingshot. That little girl thought it was funny, and my baby went. So I got out of there. So when that little girl left, I came back in, I went, what's wrong with me saying that her little panties look like a slingshot? I wish somebody'd say my panties look like a slingshot. My panties looked like... Have y'all ever seen Mel Gibson in Braveheart? You know when they pull that big ball out and that thing looks like it's a catapult. They pull that big ball, fling it and kill a bunch of children with it. That's what my panties look like. Do y'all know who owns Victoria's Secret? I used to buy my panties at Victoria's Secret, but they started cutting me in two. All right. Do y'all know who, seriously, do y'all know who owns it? Satan. Okay, so